Welcome back. It is another edition of the On the Mic podcast. I am Mike Pendleton, and you know what? It's always great to have great events. We had a great event this past weekend at Vegas, at the Apex, where Curtis Blades got a W. In the main event, my guest got a W. And it's always weird reaching out to fighters right after they win. I'm like, I wonder if she's gonna know who I am, if she's gonna remember me. She was like, yeah, I'm in. And
for sure.
Now at her third win in a row. I mean, right now, one of the top contenders in the flyweight division, Lauren
Number
Murphy.
4 contender. As of this morning, I am ranked 4th in the division now.
But you're like, isn't it like a tie? It's like you and Jessica I are like tied.
No.
No, it's okay because I saw a screen grab and it was like the rankings had like both of you listed at 4, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Why is there a tie? Lauren should be 3. Like.
There's not. She's a bantamweight anyway.
So first and foremost, let's get into it. Big win for you. And, I actually saw your opponent, Roxanne Modafferri, showed a picture. You had her out on her feet there for a moment. What was the fight like for you?
It was a good fight. Honestly, there was never a point where I felt like I was in trouble. I never felt like something was like going on that like maybe I didn't know, I felt like I was in control the entire fight. And when I rocked her, I knew I'd hit her hard, but I didn't want to rush in and like end up in the clinch again. You know what I mean? So I did manage to land a few more right hands and hit her a few more times, but I think I threw like a head kick, I threw a leg kick, I threw 2 more combinations while she was rocked, and I just wasn't able to put her away right then. But I didn't want to rush in because she felt pretty strong, and so I didn't want to end up in that clinch again and waste more time there.
Now, a performance like yours kind of almost sets the tone for me in this division. Cynthia Calvillo beat Jessica I. We saw that she jumped right into the mix there in flyweight, and it was a really good performance. But Cynthia did a lot of her work in control and on the ground. You did everything. And like you use your entire arsenal. For you, as you climb up the ladder, is it important for you to be like, no, I'm good everywhere this fight goes?
Absolutely. And I am really well-rounded. I think I'm one of the most well-rounded competitors in the division. I can do everything. I can wrestle offensively and defensively. I can box. I can kickbox. My jiu-jitsu is really good offensively and defensively. I'm good on the cage offensively and defensively. I'm really well-rounded. I'm going to be a tough fight for anybody in the division. Anybody in the division, I'm a tough fight for no matter where the fight goes.
Now on a 3-fight win streak, like how good does this feel? Like where are you at right now? Like how do you feel about where you're at?
I feel great, man. Honestly, I feel like I have the best win streak in the division right now. All my wins are over ranked opponents. If you look at who I have fought in the division, it's insane. I beat Barb Honchak, who's like a flyweight legend. I lost a decision to Sajara Eubanks, but I was never in trouble in that fight. She never hurt me. She never even came close to finishing me, nothing like that. And I think that really had more to do with the camp that I was at and the weight cut that I had. And so I was able to fix those things. I got a nutritionist and I got a new camp. And ever since then, man, I've just been on fire. I knocked out Mara Barella last year. I beat Andrea Lee by split decision. So that was a close fight and it was a brutal fight. It was a good fight. And I was a 4-1 underdog in that fight. Joanne Calderwood did the same thing and she got a title shot after she beat Andrea Lee by split decision. So not only have I beat Andrea Lee by split decision, but then I just came in there and I dominated the number 5 contender, Roxanne Modafferri, who had 3-4 times as many fights as I've had. You know what I mean? Like I'm absolutely on fire right now. This is my time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And credit to Roxanne because I think, well, credit to you really, because I think once Roxanne beat Macy Barber, people were like, oh, wait, like Roxanne might be a real problem in this division. For you, when you see that, and I've known you and had the pleasure to talk to you multiple times, but when I see how people are focusing their attention elsewhere in the division, then you go on this run. Like, how good does it feel to be like, I'm right here? Like, you guys were looking left, and I'm right here.
It's the story of my career, man. You know, it's always been like that. When I fought in Alaska, people tended to overlook me until I became the champion. When I fought in Invicta, everybody overlooked me for every fight that I had in Invicta until I became the champion. In the UFC, it's just not going to be any different. It's not, you know, and I've won the belt for every promotion that I have fought for. I've become the champion for every promotion that I've ever signed to. So I don't think the UFC is going to be any different.
I absolutely love it, and it's hard to disagree. What makes, and I actually want to get in because I'm almost finding it hard right now to be like, oh, she doesn't deserve a title shot. Like, I know there's a scheduled fight, but you look at everything like Joanne Calderwood and Valentina Shevchenko, that was supposed to happen. But you look at Caitlin Chukagian has fought for the title. Obviously, Jessica Ai fought for the title. All due respect to Cynthia Calvillo, but you just got into this division. Like, it's just very hard for me to not make the argument for you.
Sure.
How do you feel about the top of division and being ranked fourth and everyone else has almost had their turn?
I think I can beat anybody in the top 5 right now. I think I can beat anybody in this division. You know, of course, I feel that confident because I'm coming off a good win right now, but my skill set is still improving so much. Do you know what I mean? Like, just in the last year, I've grown so much and improved so much just since switching camps that it's like, I feel unstoppable. I feel like I still have so much more room to grow. And in my next fight, I'm going to be even better, you know? And I think I showed a really dominant, well-rounded performance in this fight against Roxanne. So it's like, in my next fight, I know I'm going to be even better. I'm going to put on such a good show. We're going to do things even better. Like, I just can't wait. But yeah, I think I'm definitely in title talk now, and I don't mind fighting one more time for contention. I really want to fight Cynthia Calvillo, and I think the winner of that fight should have the honor of fighting Valentina.
All right, then I'll just ask the $1 million question. Why Cynthia, though? Because, again, I said I can make the argument that you deserve a title shot right now.
Sure.
Why Cynthia Calvillo?
I just want to show the world that I can do it. For one thing, I already fought Caitlin Chukagian. You know, we fought at bantamweight. She did beat me in a super, super close decision. And so if I take anything away from that fight, it's that I can hang with Caitlin Chukagian. But Caitlin has a style that's like, she's long and she just kind of jabs and backs up, jabs and backs up. She's not a big finisher. She doesn't get in there and mix it up a lot. She doesn't wrestle. She's just looking to keep her distance and outpoint people. You know, she's not in there looking for the finish all the time. And I do really respect Caitlin because she wins a lot, but it's like, it's a boring style. You know, it's not fun to watch, and it's not fun to fight either because you end up just kind of running after her the whole time, trying to catch her, and she's, you know, backpedaling the whole time, just trying to jab and keep you away. And I understand that is an effective strategy, and that will get your hand raised, and you'll win fights doing that. But who the fuck wants to see it? You know. Cynthia is an exciting fighter. Cynthia can do everything. She'll get in there. She'll mix it up. She'll bang with you. She doesn't mind being in the pocket. You know, she can wrestle really well. She showed that against Jessica. She's got a great ground game, and she's always looking for the finish. And those are the kind of fights that I want to test myself in. Not only that, but Cynthia's just the girl to beat right now. Like, she walked into the division and took the number 2 spot. She really does have a lot of buzz around her right now, and I want to go steal that. I want to make that mine.
What, if anything, impressed you the most about Cynthia's debut at flyweight, taking on Jessica Ai, a former title challenger? Like you said, she catapulted right up to number 2. So what is it that makes her that fight?
Her mindset, I think, her composure. She didn't really look that nervous at all. She was super aware of everything in the fight. She had a game plan. She was executing it. She didn't look too nervous to me or caught up in the moment. She looked like she was in good shape too. She was able to control the pace of the fight really, really well. You know, and to walk into a 5-round fight on short notice like that is a big deal. I think that's really, really impressive. I like that a lot. And I really love the way she uses her jiu-jitsu in her fights, to be honest with you. I like watching Cynthia Calvillo fight. Like, I would love to be in there with her mixing it up because it would force me to be my best. It would force me to find that flow state. It would force me to transition a lot and to move. And I think it would be a good chance for me to show everybody what I can do too.
How do you see that fight playing out? Is that a stand in the pocket trade? Is it take it to the mat, or we're just going to see where the hell it goes?
We just see where the hell it goes. I think I could beat her everywhere, honestly. Like, I am so well-rounded, and people don't always get to see that, like, because I have game plans in fights that I carry out, you know? And so people don't always get to see, like, how well-rounded I am, but I'm an extremely well-rounded competitor. I'm not afraid of anybody on the ground. I'm not afraid of anybody's wrestling. I fought Sarah McMahon. I fought Sajara Eubanks. I fought Liz Carmouche, you know? I've fought some really strong grapplers. I fought some outstanding kickboxers too, you know, Andrea Lee, Miriam Nakamoto. Like, I fought some really great strikers. I fought women bigger than me. I fought women smaller than me. Like, I'm just ready for anything, really. I feel awesome right now. I'm telling you, this is my time.
I can see it in our conversations. Although this is the first video interview we've ever done, I could see that this is where you should be. And I can see the true happiness. It kind of makes me happy just talking to you. You're a well-rounded fighter. I would like to say I can have well-rounded conversations. So away from the fight and everything about, you know, your place in the division, just a few things. And I'll start with a more lighter note one, because I think it was an incredible thing that not too many people talked about. They were just like, wait, where did these come from? And I'll talk about the Pride fight kits. And I guess Raquel Pennington was like, Tisha Torres, it was her idea, and they're obviously a couple. And then she was like, Tisha was mad that all the fighters were wearing them. But I thought it was such a cool thing for the UFC to bring in. I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
I love it. The equipment team called me like about 3 or 4 days before we left for fight week. And they said, hey, in honor of Pride Month, we're doing rainbow lettering on the fight kits. It's up to you if you want to do it. You can tell us that you want to do it, and then your whole camp will have it. You know, the Murphy will be printed in rainbow lettering. And I was like, immediately, like, hell yeah, let's do it, you know? I try to be, like, as supportive as I can. You know what I mean? Like, of other, you know, of any group that might feel like marginalized or whatever. I do try to be inclusive and supportive to any extent that I can. And so it's like the least I could do, you know, is have this badass lettering on my fight kit in the UFC, you know. To me, it was an honor. I think it's awesome. And it ended up looking so sharp too. My whole I didn't tell my camp before we went to the fight. And so when they got the fight kits, they were all like, oh, this is fucking tight. Like, this is awesome.
That's amazing. No, and you know, on a hot, very serious note, you know, at UFC 250, we saw Devin Clark, UFC light heavyweight, take a knee in kind of solidarity with Black Lives Matter and all that's taken place in this country. Then you have the UFC come out with the Pride kits, like, not for nothing. And I'm not saying the organization is perfect, and I'm not saying Dana White and everybody involved is perfect. People can moan and bitch on social media. I'm not one of them, but I'm not an idiot. This to me is a huge thing, because as you know, in the last 4 years in the NFL, if you were a player worth anything and you try to make a statement outside of the game, you were kind of blackballed. And Colin Kaepernick's a true, you know, he's the poster child for that. You know, he never played it down again after he spoke out. For you being a professional UFC fighter, seeing the open platform that you're given as an athlete, no repercussions, how good does that make you feel?
Man, it's awesome. You know, Dana White really nails it sometimes. Like, he gave us a really good speech before, like, always after weigh-ins, he always takes the fighters aside and talks to just the fighters. And he gives us a talk about fighting hard and making sure that our minds are right. And, you know, putting on a show and going out there and earning our bonuses. And it's always pretty motivational. But this last time that he spoke to us, it was really kind of different. It was something special. And he was just talking about how much he loves the fighters and respects us, and how what we do is so amazing, and how, like, the UFC wouldn't be what it is without us. And you could tell that it was real and it was genuine, and that he does really care about, you know, he cares about the fighters. I mean, he's a businessman, of course. And so he's going to be always looking to get the best product for the lowest price. You know what I mean? Like, that is his job as a businessman, and as a promoter, he's one of the best promoters in the world. He's the best promoter in the world. But Dana really does some really cool stuff sometimes. You know, the rainbow lettering for Pride Month is badass. The way that they did a tribute to George Floyd was fucking awesome. The way that he talks about the athletes and how we're allowed to have any opinion we want, we can say anything we want without repercussions is amazing. He also stuck up for that kid, Max. I don't know how to say his last name, but the kid that quit on the stool.
Yes.
he gave a long speech about how nobody should ever shame that kid, and how he had, the balls to give it a shot in the UFC, and how he made it to the UFC, and nobody should be talking shit about him. So it's like, man, the media loves to hate Dana White, but I respect the guy a lot. And watching him handle his business during COVID was real inspiring to me. He really made some shit happen, really made some shit happen. And now the fighters can fight for paychecks. Like, I've gotten 4 paychecks this year, but I've had 2 fights this year already. And a lot of other people are struggling to work. Like, I'm so grateful that guy is my boss. I think I really look up to Dana a lot, actually.
That's, I love hearing that, because like you said, the media, they tend to take a focus on the negatives around Dana White and all of that. And I don't know, I think all things considered, here's how Dana's doing a good job. When people are talking about how bad boxing's return has been so far, you've got D-list fighters fighting F-list fighters, and it's like, guys, we don't even know what's going on here. All due respect to those fighters who are stepping in the ring, not to take anything away from them, but boxing's not bringing out their Tony Fergusons and Justin Gaethjes or their Lauren Murphys or whatever. There's no title fights. There's no title eliminators. He's putting all those on. For you, though, because you just mentioned it, the COVID-19 pandemic, I guess I could go back and be like, how was your training camp? How was this? But, I mean, you fought at the Apex. It had that very Contender Series-like feel to it, very limited people around, if anyone at all. Just a very smaller cage. Like, what was it like fighting at the Apex Rio?
I liked it. It was kind of like the Ultimate Fighter in some ways. A little bit better than the Ultimate Fighter, but on the Ultimate Fighter, I had such a hard time, and it really got to me, like, mentally, like, not having the crowd and Dana being there watching you, and like just the pressure really got to me, the weirdness of it being so quiet. And anybody can go back and watch that season and tell, like, I was kind of out of my mind. I really didn't perform well on the Ultimate Fighter. And so when we found out we were fighting in Vegas, we're fighting at the Apex, it's going to be kind of a similar situation. I was really pumped, actually. I was like, yes, this is my chance to do it again. Like, this is my chance to go back and do it better. I cannot wait to go back and, like, have a redo. Like, in my heart, I always wanted to be able to do Tough over, and, like, do it better. And I felt like this was my chance. And so we did, like, all fight week, we talked about it. And now I have so many more tools to deal with the pressure and to deal with the stress and to deal with the anxiety that comes with, getting into a fist fight on national television. And I, just being able to execute that and use those tools and have such a great performance and enjoy the moment it was like just on a personal level, it was like a big redemption for me. I don't think it meant anything to anybody else, but just for me, in my heart, it meant so much,
Absolutely. Listen, if it meant something to you, then it's got to mean a lot to those around you and fans of yours and those who support you. I'm one of those people. So it's great to hear that. So obviously, I'm not afraid to ask some, crazy questions. And we just talked about the fighter who Max, who quit, and I don't want to butcher his name, and I'm terrible with last names.
I don't know.
It's probably why you've been on the show a lot, because Murphy is very easy. But this is a guy who took a fight on 5 days' notice. If you're on the social media world, if you're on MMA Twitter, then like that was a guy a lot of people talked about, and he would likely have been a Contender Series guy this year, or just gotten another call. But he gets a call on 5 days' notice, and at the end of the second round, he just tells his corner 9 times, "Call it." And I'm curious your thoughts on how his coach Robert Drysdale, how he handled that situation, and if you ever found yourself in a similar situation.
Well, as far as what Drysdale did, I honestly don't really have an opinion, because I don't know their relationship. I have no idea. I've never met that kid. I don't know what he looks like in the gym. I don't know how well Drysdale knows him, So I don't know. I'm just going to kind of leave that alone, because I really think people are just doing their best out there. Drysdale was doing his best, and so was that kid. Max was doing his best too. If it were me in that situation, it would depend. My husband and I actually had this conversation. It's like, I've never sat down in the corner and been that defeated. There's been times, like, when I was pretty checked out, like Actually, the only time that's ever really happened was when I fought Sajara, and I just had such a bad weight cut, and I felt so shitty in the fight, and like she was obviously winning and felt so strong that, you know, in the corner I was just kind of like, yep, like let's just get this over with, like let's get the third round over with, fuck it. But I never felt like quitting. And then in my other 3 losses, they were so close, I felt like I had a chance. I never felt like I was out of the game, or that, like, I never felt like, in some of them, I felt like I was winning. So it's like, I've never really considered quitting in the middle of a fight like that. And if I ever did, I think my husband would know, like, this is serious. If I ever sat down and was like, I don't want to do this, I'm done, he would probably take that very seriously. And he would be like, oh my God, Lauren has never said anything like this before. She's never even hinted at it. This must be serious. If I sat down and said something along the lines of like, man, I don't know if I can do this, or what we're doing isn't working, or something like that, that's kind of different. Then he could maybe game plan, talk me through it, you know, in the corner, give me a quick pep talk and be like, you can do this, let's go. But if I ever sat down and was like, no, dude, I'm just done, I think he would know, like, that's it, you know. And putting somebody back out there when they're in that state can be real dangerous. You know, you don't want them to get their jaw broken or get, you know, concussed so badly that they, you know, can't come back for months and months and months. You don't want something like that to happen to your fighter. So
no, absolutely. And I'll go on record and say, first off, you know, I'm not looking for any specific answers out of you, but I do love the way that you said everyone's just trying their best, because you're a fighter. Now I host this show. That's what I do. And all I can say is I know how I feel based off who I talk to. The Lauren Murphys of the world. The guy who I have a lot of respect for, who was the last person in this situation, is Anthony Smith. And Anthony came out and said, my corner knows they'd be fired if they threw in the towel. Like, every fighter has their own situation, their own conversation. And I guess the media is one thing. But I guess it becomes a bigger thing if we take the media out of it and just look at what 2020 is, and that there's so much social media that if you're a fighter and you just got your call to the UFC on 5 days notice, the fight doesn't go your way, you honestly can't pick up your phone right now. You can't pick up your phone. You can't look at anything. All the headlines are being written about you. Everyone's trashing you. We got a cameo in here. I love it. But in all seriousness, like, doesn't that kind of like matter to you, because there are so many other people, and it's, to me, as a guy who transitioned over from other sports, NFL, NBA, to start covering this sport, is MMA to me has the most couch potato critics of all time. And I don't know how you can judge someone who's getting into a cage and fighting for livelihood, respect, paychecks, and their legacy, and you've never done it.
yeah, it's crazy. You know, people are always going to have their judgments. And it's like, I think in this game and really any professional athlete, you have to be able to not give a fuck. Like, people are going to have their opinions about what you're doing, but at the end of the day, they're not the ones in there doing it. None of those media members that have anything to say about Max know anything about what it's like to be in that cage fighting. They don't know what it was like to be in there fighting Austin Hubbard. Like, they don't know. If they could handle it, they would be doing it. They can't handle it, so they're talking about it. You know what I mean? And that poor kid, like, he does not deserve to be shamed for what he did. He went out there and he tried, he gave it a shot, and he just wasn't ready. Like, that happens. But what are you going to do? Was he not supposed to take the call when it came in? I don't understand what people are like bitching at him about. You know, it's like, you go out there and you show your whole heart to the world and you do your very best and you put everything on the line, and then, you know, critics are people that never go to war, and then they come out shooting the wounded. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a good deal. So I don't know. I don't understand the media that thinks they have any place to criticize him or act like they know what they're fucking talking about.
I love that quote, by the way. That might be my favorite quote I've ever heard in an interview.
I want to say it was like Winston Churchill, maybe, or something. Yeah, a critic is somebody that never goes to war and afterward goes around shooting the wounded.
That's a great quote. I do love that quote. What is the pup's name?
This is my lucky Penny.
How old is she?
She's 5. She just turned
adorable. She was like, all right, you're talking way too much here. I'll get you out of here in a couple more. We talked about everything Dana's doing. Is it baffling to you that a lot of fighters have been on, and it's not current fighters, it's a lot of former fighters are now coming out now. For like a week, we had a Joe Silva like hate tour, and people were letting out their horror stories of Joe Silva, and people are talking about this pay and that pay. Like, is it kind of strange to you that this is just coming up out of nowhere, and we've got fighters retiring and all? It feels like because the biggest stars in the sport are like, hey, either give me my money in a big fight or I'm not fighting right now. All these other fighters are like, I want my money too. I want this, I want that, and this happened to me.
Well, I have a couple thoughts on that, I guess. One, I think that's expected, right? So the same way that Dana's a good promoter and it's his job to get the best product for the cheapest price and give back to the investors, it's the fighter's job to fight for themselves, to advocate for themselves, to get the most pay that they can in the prime of their life doing the sport that they're breaking their body to do, right? So it's kind of like everybody's doing their job. Those guys should be asking for more money. And then, you know, the other thought is that the UFC has it, man. Like, they have money. They just bought an island. They're chartering flights for everybody to Abu Dhabi right now. You know, the pay structure, the split in pay structure that the athletes receive is not the same as other professional sports, not even close. They were valued at $4 billion like a couple years ago, right? When there was that transfer management to IMGE. But yeah, I think the UFC has the money, you know, but it is their job to get the best for the least. And it's the fighter's job to get the most for what they do. So I think it's good on those guys for asking for more money, and you got to strike while the iron's hot. You have to. Our time is so short in fighting that it's like you're an idiot if you're at the top of the game and you're not asking for more money and you're not making as much as you possibly can.
Well, absolutely. And I was on social media this morning on a lighter note, and I saw your tweet. So have you decided? I mean, you talked about 4 paychecks already this year. What are you doing, Lauren Murphy? What's going on? What vacation plans? I was going to ask you if you're looking at Fight Island, if you'd be interested in that. I know they have some fights booked already, but what's next for Lauren Murphy?
I'd go to Fight Island. Hell yeah. I'd go cruise around Abu Dhabi for a week or 2 or 3. That'd be fine. It would honestly be even better if we could fight on Fight Island and then just stay there. I don't know if that would be an option because of COVID, but if we could get the UFC to fly us there, and then like we'll hitchhike back or whatever we're gonna do, explore while we're out there. But honestly, to tell you the truth, my husband is so good to me. He's just so good to me. Like, fight camps, when we go through fight camps together, they're as hard on him as they are on me. And fight week, the man doesn't sleep. He doesn't eat. He just takes care of me. He makes sure that I'm 110% ready for that fight. And he never asks for anything in return. Like, he just does it. I don't have to ask for anything. He is so on his A game. Like, I'm just so lucky to have him, honestly, in so many ways. He's the best human I've ever known. And so after this fight, we were talking, and it was like, well, what can we do? Like, I want to do something for him, you know, anything he wants. And I was like, do you want a new truck? Like, I'll buy you a truck, or do you, like, what do you want? You want to invest in something, like, maybe, or do you want to take a trip somewhere, like anywhere in the world? Where do you want to go? Like, you pick the place and I'll start planning. And so he's thinking about it, but basically is wherever the boss wants to go, we're going to go. And I'll do all the planning and everything. And like, we'll just take it from there. But I really want to give back to him, like, as much as he's given to me in our relationship. And taking him on a vacation or something is like a drop in the bucket. Honestly, it's like nothing. So
that's amazing. If you could have him write a guide for me on how to act, it'd be great, because I'm getting closer to 30 than I am 20, and I don't have anyone around, you know, so I need a guide, please.
He needs to write one. It would be a bestseller, I'm sure.
Especially dating a woman fighter. Like, one wrong move, you get your ass kicked, you get your ass handed to you. Like, listen, walk a fine line here.
He's taught me everything I know, but he hasn't taught me everything he knows.
That is amazing. Well, Lauren Murphy, I honestly can't thank you enough for your time. This has been a great conversation as always. Do you expect Cynthia Calvillo to want to take a fight against you? And what is your message to her?
Yeah, I think she's going to want to fight me. Why wouldn't she? You know what I mean? Like, we're going to fight, and whoever wins that fight is going to fight for the title. So, of course, she's going to want that fight, you know? And I don't know. Cynthia doesn't seem like the type of person to turn down a challenge. You know, she doesn't seem like the type of person that would shy away from something like that. So I'm really looking forward to fighting with her. I think it's going to be a really exciting fight. I think it's going to be a great test for both of us, and it's going to be an awesome show for the fans.
Well, I have no inside info, but if your husband says, hey, we should go to like Abu Dhabi, and you guys are just outside Fight Island, and then all of a sudden your phone rings, I mean, maybe he says, drinks for the first couple of days. He's just waiting to see if something pops off. But no, seriously, I mean, 4 paychecks this year, another win, to your resume, 3-fight win streak now. You just made a massive statement in the flyweight division. Lauren Murphy, I can tell you personally, I'm very happy for you. And everyone around me that knows you speaks very highly of you. I say the same things. And I think now's your time. So I'm excited to see what's up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining me. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Lauren Murphy.